good is this? Today, we're going to a place that's been teaching sustainability to new arrivals to this country for over 200 years. G'day, I'm Costa. Tonight, I put my body on the line to find a solution to a common water problem. We're taking the major water issues and turning them into the design resolution. When water tanks go bad. And the crucial role of the worker bee.
If we lost our bee pollinators, the human race wouldn't survive more than a few years.
This is Mamre Homestead, run by the Sisters of Mercy at St Mary's in Sydney's southwest. It was originally established in 1804 as a model farm by the then colonial pastor Samuel Marsden. It now finds itself, some 200 years later, teaching the principles of sustainability and productivity to new arrivals to the country in order to help them to engage with their new community. The Sisters of Mercy currently run 2 programs here for newly arrived African refugees. The Southern Sudanese Women's Group and the African Employment Project. Both aim to help these new Australians by teaching them life skills such as English, as well as sustainable organic gardening and nutrition methods.
Here's the big one.
Imagine if you were an immigrant to a new country. You look different, you eat different, you talk different. The amazing thing about what's going on here at Mamre House is that they're using that very basic survival instinct of health, food, nutrition to help teach and engage these new arrivals with their new community.
Con, would you like a strawberry? They're real strawberries.
And for many of these refugees like Anita Sasay, being accepted into a new community, a world away from their tragic past, is a chance for a new life. Why did you leave Liberia? War.
They came my family.
Really?
They came my husband. They came my son was 1991. He was 60 years old. They killed him. So no need for me to be there.
The Sudanese Women's Group come to Mamre 4 days a week to get a hands-on learning experience with a focus on health and well-being.
And a lot of the Africans, when they come to Australia, they tend to think McDonald's and KFC is a status place to go. You know, people in the West go there, so they come here, they can afford it now. So we have our work cut out for us on a nutrition angle as well. But fresh produce, it's very much something they relate to. They are very comfortable when they see the farm. When they get in the farm, I've never seen people more comfortable.
Really nice.
Especially the women, I have to say. They take to it like a duck to water.
Today's lesson is composting.
Guys, we're gonna put our food scraps here again. This is our 2nd or 3rd layer, maybe. Yeah? Spread it. Anita is spreading the food scraps. Put some water. Yeah. And don't forget to turn it like once every 2 weeks. Yeah?
The women are also learning how to grow some rather exotic garlic.
Guys, we're going to plant some giant Russian garlic, which is really suitable for a Western Sydney climate. It goes halfway in the ground. We're going to mulch it in on top, and we're spacing it about 15 centimetres, which means we're flipping these over, and you got it.
And for me, the techniques used here are spot on. Well, they're building the beds up, which is great. They're adding lots of compost, so that's slowly turning this soil into a nice elevated garden bed that drains freely, but at the same time with all the compost, it's going to hold the moisture and be an ideal structure for growing any of the vegetables that they want to grow here.
Okay, you're doing it. I see it as my absolute privilege to be able to work alongside these people, to get dirty fingernails with these people, to learn their ways of gardening, to see how they respond to the soil and to agriculture, to see the difference between our way of doing that, and they've never lost their connection to the soil and survival. And to learn that and observe that is my privilege.
Later in the show, I'm going to take a look at the African Employment Project and show you the future of this fantastic community initiative.
And then I decided to go into business, agriculture business. Very, very excited.
Now, there's been an incredible explosion in the number, variety and quantity of rainwater tanks being installed around the country. But the big point is, the quality of the water that comes out of the tank is only as good as the quality of water that goes in.
Nestled amongst the gum trees in the Sydney suburb of Hunters Hill, this house installed a 5,000 litre water tank 2 years ago and connected it to the washing machine and the toilet. But things have gone badly brown.
The washing machine's been disconnected for a year because of the poor water quality. And the toilet, well, have a look at this.
The problem here is caused by these beautiful trees surrounding the house. Leaves and bark fall into the gutters, and when it rains, this travels into the tank. But don't worry, because today I'm going to show you 4 ways of rejuvenating and maintaining your water tank. First up is the first flush diverter.
Your first flush diverter is a great invention because what it does is catch all the dirt, leaves, bird poo and anything else off the roof into this piece of pipe, about 15 litres worth. It all sits in here, and like anything, it needs to be cleaned out. So when you actually open it up, you can see that there's leaves, dirt, and this ball. And all the ball does is when the 15 litres fills up, it floats to the top, and then the water carries onto the tank. Really simple. Get the rubbish out of there, give it a rinse. It's nice and clean. Put the ball back in. And away we go. By cleaning your first flush diverter out after every rainfall, all these leaves will end up back in the garden instead of in your tank and ruining your water quality.
The next line of defence is the strainer.
Every water tank, no matter how big or small, has a strainer, such as this, where the pipes meet it to pour the water off the roof into the tank. It needs to be cleaned out. The more regularly that you do it, the better your water quality will end up. So all this stuff that's made it through, you've just got to take it down, shake it out, give it a hose and put it back in.
If you are using the water from your tank inside your house, you should have a filter, which should be checked every 3 months or so. When it looks like this one, it's time for a change.
It's pretty easy to see which is our new filter. That just drops straight in, screws on, and we're in business. To maintain really good quality water from your tank, you've got to do 4 things. Clean out the first flush diverter, clean your filter, clean the strainer, and finally, you actually have to clean the inside of the tank itself. Because like your teeth, it needs cleaning as well, from all the slime and the grime that builds up in there. To do that, you use a high-pressure water hose. Now, this can either be done by yourself, or if you don't have one, get your local plumber to come in and he'll clean it out for you.
As you clean the inside of your tank, don't forget to release the gate valve and flush out the sludge.
So there you have it. Give it a flush. That's the way it should look. How good is this? It's good enough to drink. Welcome back to the show. We're out here at Mamre Homestead looking into the Mamre Project, which is an outreach program designed to assist African and Sudanese refugees. What the project's doing is equipping these refugees with new skills such as language and agricultural skills so that they can gain employment and create a business for themselves and support their families as they integrate into the community.
lever come up. Pull this one back. Go.
The African Employment Project has set up a demonstration plot for a groundbreaking farming technique called SPIN, or Small Plot Intensive.
The claim here is that off a half-acre block, a family can generate between $30,000 to $50,000 income in a year.
And this SPIN method of farming also makes great economic and environmental sense.
It's bringing farming back to the edges of urban edges. So instead of the broadacre farms way out west, everybody's realising they don't make money anymore, bringing them back to the city, ensuring food security, less food miles. And so our demonstration spin farm is just that. We demonstrate that to visitors that come through the place, but particularly we use it for mentoring and teaching the African people who are interested in starting up their own business.
Now, this whole area between here and the road is earmarked to become these small plots so that many families will be able to generate income and support themselves long into the future. What a great initiative. Shamsin, where are you from?
I'm from Sudan.
From Sudan?
Yeah.
And when did you come to Australia?
I just came off 5 years ago.
5 years.
Shamsin El Amin has 2 business partners, and soon they'll be able to lease one of the plots earmarked here and return a living for their families. But these hard workers aren't leaving anything to chance.
I finished my degree in accounting.
A degree?
Yeah.
In fact, to ensure the business works to a profit, Shamsin has studied accountancy, while his partners have also picked up the books.
We have sent one of our partners to study the business, and then there is another one who is studying a community. He will help us to how to get the customers, and then we will just try to work together to develop.
Are you excited about
Yeah,
this new
I'm very
project?
excited, yeah. Very, very excited.
Later in the show, I'm going to get a little taste of Africa as the women cook up a storm.
An African feast. I can't wait. This week on the obscure Green Road, we're at Heatherbrae in New South Wales. And there's a real buzz about this place.
Most of us think that in a world without bees, we would simply have no honey. But the reality is that without bees on our planet, life itself would become very difficult to sustain. Jim Wright first started keeping European honeybees some 66 years ago. Today, Jim's the secretary of the Hunter Valley Amateur Beekeepers, and he's got some sobering news for all of us.
Jim, it's been said bees are critical to our survival.
And they are, because they are the principal pollinators of our crops. And if we lost the pollination, we'd lose our major food crops. And it's been said, allegedly, by Einstein years ago, that if we lost our bee pollinators, the human race wouldn't survive more than a few years.
When a bee pollinates a flower, the plant produces a fruit. And amazingly, 1/3 of everything we eat is a result of bee pollination. The problem is, these little guys are in serious danger of disappearing from our planet.
Jim, what problems face the bee industry worldwide?
The first one is a mite called Varroa destructor. And a mite is an arachnid with 8 legs, and this is a tiny little mite that parasitises the bee, sucks the lifeblood out of it. We're the only continent that hasn't got it.
A major issue facing bees worldwide is a phenomenon known as colony collapse disorder, where bees literally vanish and never return to the hive. This frightening syndrome has devastated bee populations in America and Europe. Mercifully, there have been no reported cases of colony collapse disorder in Australia. But that doesn't mean that our bees are completely safe from harm.
What can I do at home to help reduce bee kill?
Avoid using pesticides on your flowering plants when bees are around.
This will also help preserve the 1,500 species of Australia's indigenous bees that help pollinate both our native and exotic plants.
How does the structure work? There's queens, drones and worker bees.
The queen is the mother of all the bees. Her one task in life is to lay eggs. She has to lay at least 1,000 eggs a day to maintain the population. The worker bees are all her daughters. They're female. Females do all the work. The drone is the male bee, and his one duty in life is to fertilise the queen, and he only gets to do that once, because once he's done it, he's dead.
Jim, I kind of like the idea of suiting up like this. Could I have a hive at home?
Yes, you can. All us members have hives in our own homes, and in an average suburban block, you're allowed to have 1 or 2 hives. But there's more to keeping the bees in any environment than there is just getting the bees. There's a lot of learning to do.
If you'd like to learn more about the role that these critical little creatures play in our environment, visit the website.